Hey there folks, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and over the next 4 weeks I will be unboxing and then upgrading all 4 of the Doctor Who Universes Beyond Commander precons. I'll start this whole 4-week venture off with a Blast from the Past precon. Before I get to today's video, I want to first take a moment to let you know that if you'd like to help support my channel, you can do so in the following ways. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share any of my content on your socials so other people can discover it, and or watch some of my many other videos yourself. In addition to that, if you're interested in ways that you can help support my channel monetarily, please read the description of this video, and there you will find a myriad of options for what you can do to help me keep this channel going. Anything that you can do to help is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. Today's video will be the unboxing of the Blast from the Past precon, where I'll show you everything that comes in the box, including the deck card by card, and then tomorrow I will release the upgrade guide where I'll show you some options on what I believe you should take out and add back in to help make the deck play a little better. Normally I would start by showing you who the suggested commander for the deck is, and I will, but this set has something unique happening when it comes to the commander spot that needs to be explained first. This precon, and I assume some if not all of the others as well, use a variation of the partner mechanic that they dubbed Doctor's Companion. What that means is, if you have one of the versions of the Doctor as your commander, you may also have a card that's marked as a Doctor's Companion in the command zone as well, just like you can with partner commanders. This is why, even though the commander you see on the front of the box only has blue and green for its colors, this deck's color identity is actually blue, green, and white. Now with that information explained, let's look at the suggested commander for this precon, the 4th Doctor. This version of the Doctor is 1 blue, 1 green, and 2 generic mana for a 4/4 legendary Time Lord Doctor with the following 2 abilities. The first ability allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time, while the second ability is called Would You Like a ... that says once each turn, you may play a historic land or cast a historic spell from the top of your library, and, when you do, create a food token. Also, in parentheses, it explains that historic cards are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. When you look at the box and then at the face commander, it doesn't really tell you much about the companion aspect, but it does allude to the plane chase mechanic that's similar to the March of the Machine Commander precons. I won't go over much of the plane chase stuff, but if you want to know more about it, check out the unboxing videos that I did for all of the March of the Machine precons about 6 months ago. As for the companion mechanic, the back of the box shows Sarah Jane Smith, so I can only assume that that's who is suggested for this deck, but I'll go over that while showing you the actual deck itself. At first glance, it appears that this deck will revolve around a legendary theme, kind of similar to Joda the Unifier, but sadly, there's not really much to go by to support my assumptions, so rather than speculate any further, let's just rip this bad boy open and I'll show you what's in the box. So here is what the outside of the box looks like for the Blast from the Past Universes Beyond Doctor Who Commander deck. That's the front. We went back a little bit with the cutout versions of the suggested commander on the front, and then there's a little bit of it about the deck on the back. But let's open this up and take a look and see everything else. No ripcord, which is weird. Makes it a little harder to open the box. Alright, let's take the contents out and I'll show you everything here. Let me get that out there first. Let's put all that aside and we'll go from there. Alright, so we obviously know what the front looks like, but here's where the cutouts are. Again, we went backwards on the little... I use these as dividers in my boxes for when I'm sorting cards. But we went up a little bit on the counters that they gave us. Instead of 8 now, it's 10. But we still didn't get any of these that are good. So that's, 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. We got the box. We at least got the right box. This is the up and down or the vertical version of the box. So that's nice. We've got an insert. I know that you people don't really care about the insert, but I show you everything. They're a little different. This one's more up and down or vertical than the other ones. So a little bit about playing the deck, extra commander rules, and then on the other side, just a little bit about, I guess, the 4th Doctor, and then the companion, because that's one of the things about the Doctor Who set that we got was companions. Throw that aside. Here's what the life wheel looks like. This one actually has something that ties it to this precon. The front side, not so much, but the back side it does. We've got some stuff inside a little black package, which includes what looks like Collector's Booster Sample Pack ×2. And then we have these, which are tied to something that the March of the Machine did a little bit ago. These are planes. I'll go over all of that with you. Let's do the planes first.
Not really that excited about the planes because nobody really uses plane chase for anything. But, I mean, it's nice to have extra little stuff to go with it. Alright, throw that aside. The first plane is the Pyramid of Mars. Caught in a parallel universe. These are all tied to the original series of Doctor Who, I would assume. Gardens of Tranquil Repose. Spectrix Mines. If you want to read these, you can pause the video. Coal Hill School. Unit Headquarters. The Cheetah Planet. Let's see, Antarctic Research Base. The Cave of Skulls. And TARDIS Bay. So those are the plane chase cards that came in this one. I'll set those aside. I'll look at them a little much closer later. Interestingly enough, I guess because he has 2 hearts, we got 2 collector sample packs, so we'll open up the first one and see what we get. Interesting to have 2 in here. I don't recall that being a thing, but maybe I didn't read the box enough. Alright, let's zoom. And take a look. So, first card is Missy in the special treatment for Doctor Who. And then a Horizon Canopy Foil Extended Art. Not bad. Then we've got the second Collector's Booster Sample Pack. Let's see what we get in the second one. We got Astrid Peth in Foil Extended Art. And then we got Ecstatic Beauty. So I don't know what the prices of these are because I didn't really pay attention much to the Doctor Who set as far as the cards go. So I will have the prices up there for you. Put them aside, and we'll go over the thing you're here for, which is the actual deck itself. Open it up and see what we get. They still took away that thing. They used to have a little spot that you could rip this open on, and it's gone. And it hasn't been here for 2 sets now, so I don't know why they would do that. Alright, make some room. Split the deck in half. So, I explained to you or read to you already what the 4th Doctor does. So we get the 2 versions. We've got the extra thick version. I don't know if you can see it, that's really that thick, but it is. It doesn't really bend well. Then we have the regular version that is legal to use in the Commander. And then we have the other card, which is the Companion. And this one is Sarah Jane Smith. It is 2 to cast for a 2/1. She's a human detective that says whenever you cast a historic spell, you investigate. And this ability triggers only once each turn. And of course, she's the Doctor's Companion, which means she can be in the command zone with your Doctor as long as you have a Doctor. Then we go on to Romana, I think that's 2. 4 to cast for a 3/3 with Vigilance. Has an ability that says 1 and tap it to create a tapped token that's a copy of target token that entered the battlefield this turn, and also has Doctor's Companion, which means can be in the command zone for you. Only if you have a Doctor as your actual commander. Joe Grant, 3 to cast, 3/2, says each historic card in your hand has the ability of cycling for 1 white and 2 generic, which means you can discard the card to draw a card. And whenever you cycle a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And again, another Doctor's Companion. I don't know much about the original series. I didn't get to watch it because it's behind the paywall. Next up is Tegan Javanka, 3 cast 2/2, has an ability that's called Braveheart. Says whenever you attack, target attacking historic creature gets +1/+1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. And this is another Doctor's Companion. Barbara Wright is a 2 to cast 1/3 with History Teacher, and that ability says that sagas you control have read ahead. And you can read what read ahead does. It just means that you can choose to have it enter at a certain point or a certain page of the actual saga. And again, Doctor's Companion. Jan Chesterton is 3 cast 2/3 with Science Teacher. And that Science Teacher ability says that each saga spell that you cast has Replicate, and the Replicate cost is equal to its mana cost, and another Doctor's Companion. Where are the Doctors? Pearl Brown, 4 to cast 2/3, has the first historic spell that you cast each turn has Convoke, and then it's another Doctor's Companion. First sorcery here is it's called Crisis in Conscience. 6 to cast, and you get to choose one. You can destroy all tokens or destroy all non-land, non-token permanents. So it's a board wipe. Alright, Saga time, because I noticed there's a couple of companions in here that had Saga-related stuff, so let's take a look. 4 to cast for the Caves of Androzani, and I may have said that wrong. So it has 4 chapters. When it comes into play, you read the first chapter. It says to put 2 stun counters on each of up to 2 target tapped creatures. Chapters 2 and 3 read, for each non-saga permanent, choose a counter on it, and you may put an additional counter of that kind on that permanent. And then the 4th chapter reads, search your library for a Doctor card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and then shuffle. The next saga is called the Word Games. It's 4 to cast, has 4 chapters as well. Chapter 1 says each player creates 3 tapped 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. The tokens are goaded for as long as the Word Games remains on the battlefield. And then chapters 2 and 3 say put a +1/+1 counter on each warrior creature. And then the final chapter says you may exile a non-token creature you control. Then you exile all warriors. The next one is Trial of a Time Lord. It's a 30-cast saga, also has 4 chapters. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 read like this. You exile target non-token creature an opponent controls until Trial of a Time Lord leaves the battlefield. And then the final chapter reads, starting with you, each player votes for either innocent or guilty. If guilty gets more votes, the owner of each card exiled with Trial of a Time Lord puts that card on the bottom of their library. I guess there's nothing for the other one. Nothing happens on the other one. That's weird. All right. The Night of the Doctor, 6 to cast. This one only has 2 chapters. First chapter says destroy all creatures. And then the second and last chapter says return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield and you put your choice of a first strike, vigilance, or lifelink counter on it. That one's pretty straightforward. Traverse Eternity. It's a 4 to cast sorcery. It says draw a card equal to the highest mana value among historic permanents that you control. Canine Mark 1 is a 1 to cast 1/1 legendary robot dog. Has an ability called Negative. Says as long as K9 Mark 1 is untapped, other legendary creatures you control have Ward 1, which isn't bad. Then it has another ability that you can pay 1 blue, 1 generic, and tap it to have target legendary creature not be able to be blocked for the turn. And then this is also a companion. Adric Mathematical Genius is a 2 to cast 1/1 with an ability that you can pay 3 and tap it to copy target activated or triggered ability that you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy. And another ability that you can pay 2 and sacrifice it with no tap to counter target activated or triggered ability. And then this is also another Doctor's Companion. Nissa of Trekken is a 4 to cast 3/4 that says you have no maximum hand size. And then an ability that says whenever it attacks, you sacrifice X artifacts. And when you sacrifice one or more artifacts this way, you tap up to X target creatures and you draw X cards. And another Doctor's Companion. A lot of different combinations you can do here. Reverse the Polarity, 3 to cast instant that you get to choose to either counter all other spells, which is pretty nice, or switch each creature's power and toughness until end of turn, or creatures can't be blocked this turn. You get to choose. That's a lot of good choices. 500-Year Diary. It's a 4 to cast legendary artifact Clue that says when it enters the battlefield, it enters tapped. And then you can tap it to add a blue for each clue you control, or you can pay 2 and sacrifice it to draw a card because it is a clue. Leela 17 Warrior is a 4 to cast 3/3 that says whenever an opponent draws a card, except for the first time in each of their draw steps, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And this is another Doctor's Companion. An Unearthly Child, 3 to cast with 3 chapters, and all 3 of them are the same. And so it says reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a Doctor card, a card with a Doctor's Companion, or a vehicle card, and put that card into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it goes and searches for either a Doctor, a Doctor's Companion, or probably the TARDIS. Ace Fearless Rebel is a 4 to cast 2/2 that has an ability called Nitro 9 that says whenever Ace Fearless Rebel attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact, and then if you do, or when you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Ace Fearless Rebel, then it fights up to 1 target creature defending player controls, and it's another Doctor's Companion. There's a lot of Doctor's Companions in here. Next is Susan Foreman. It's a 2 to cast 1/1. This is a Time Lord. It says if you would Planeswalk, instead look at the top 2 cards of your planar deck and put one on the bottom of your planar deck and the other on top, then Planeswalk, and it taps to add a green. This is a Doctor's Companion as well. The 5 Doctors. It's a 6 to cast sorcery with a kicker of 5. And it says search your library and or graveyard for up to 5 Doctors and reveal them and put them in your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. And if the spell was kicked, put those cards onto the battlefield instead of into your hand. So it's basically a really expensive way to go get 5 Doctors and put them into play. Jamie McGrimmon, 3 to cast 2/2 with Trample. And whenever you cast a historic spell, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is that spell's mana value. And this is yet another Doctor's Companion. The Sea Devils. This is a saga that costs 3 with 3 chapters. The first 2 say to create a 2/2 green alien salamander creature token with Island Walk. And then the last chapter says until end of turn, whenever a salamander deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to target creature that player controls. A little weird, but I get it. City of Death, 3 to cast saga with 6 chapters. The first chapter says to create a treasure token, and then the next 5 chapters say to create a token that's a copy of target non-saga token that you control. This is a weird deck. Gallifrey stands, so 1 blue, 1 white, and 4 of any. For a legendary enchantment that says when it enters the battlefield, return all Doctor cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, You may put a Doctor creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 13 or more Doctors, you win the game. So it's an extra win con. That's not really likely to happen, but it could. Alistair the Brigadier. It is a 4 to cast 3/3. That says whenever you cast a historic spell, you create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. And then whenever it attacks, you may pay 8 mana. And if you do, creatures you control get +X/+X on a turn, where X is the number of historic permanents that you control. Oh, we're finally on the Doctors. So the first Doctor is 3 to cast for a 2/2. That says when it enters the battlefield, search your library and or graveyard for a card named TARDIS. Reveal it, put in your hand, and if you search your library this way, you shuffle. And then whenever you cast a spell with Cascade, you put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact or creature. The second Doctor is 4 to cast for a 2/4 that says players have no maximum hand size, and an ability that says at the beginning of your end step, each player may draw a card. Each player who does can't attack you or permanents you control during their next turn. Okay, that's actually not horrible. It's a shame it's not in the Kusar's colors. The third Doctor is 4 to cast for a 2/2 with Trample. It also gets +1/+1 for each non-creature token that you control. And then it says when it enters the battlefield, you create your choice of a clue token, a food token, or a treasure token. The fifth Doctor is 4 to cast as well for a 2/2 with an ability that says at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that didn't attack or enter the battlefield this turn and untap those creatures. The sixth Doctor is 6 to cast. Well, that's funny. For a 3/3, so his power and toughness equals 6, really. And an ability that says whenever you cast a historic spell, copy it, except the copy isn't legendary, and this ability triggers only once each turn. Seventh Doctor is 5 to cast for a 3/6. That says whenever it attacks, choose a card in your hand. Defending player guesses whether its mana value is greater than the number of artifacts you control, and if they guess wrong, you may choose to cast it without paying its mana cost, and if you don't cast a spell this way, you investigate instead. The 8th Doctor is 6 to cast for a 4/4, that when it enters the battlefield, you mill 3 cards. And then once during each of your turns, you may play a historic spell or cast a historic permanent spell from your graveyard. If you do, it gains if a permanent would leave the battlefield, X out instead. Okay, so it gives it basically a finality counter. That was before finality counters, I believe, were a thing. And then next up is not a Doctor. It is Vrestin I don't know how to say that. Menoptera Bleeder? Roast me if you want. It is 3 to cast an X for a 0/0 with flying that enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. And then when it enters the battlefield, you create a X 1/1 green and white alien insect creature tokens with flying. And then whenever you attack with one or more insects, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. That's actually not bad. That's a pretty cool thing to build around if you think about it. It's got a lot of potential. Sergeant John Benton, 3 to cast 2/4. That's a pretty good stat line, especially with Trample and Haste. That's a really good stat line. And then an ability that says whenever Sergeant John Benton deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. Huh. Ooh, another saga. This one is 4 to cast and is called The Curse of Fenric. Has 3 chapters. First chapter says for each player, destroy up to 1 target creature that player controls, and for each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 3/3 green mutant creature token with Death Touch. The second chapter reads, target non-token creature becomes a 6/6 legendary horror creature named Fenric and loses all abilities. And then the last chapter says target mutant fights another target creature named Fenric. That one's a little weird. Next up is Dugan Private Detective. This is 4 to cast for a star creature, where the stars are equal to the number of cards in your hand. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you investigate. And then an ability that says for 2 green and tapping it, it deals damage equal to its power to another target creature, and you can only activate it once. Is that once per game? Probably. Alright, we have a vehicle here. It is called Bessie the Doctor's Roadster. It's a 2 to cast vehicle that is a 3/4 when it's a creature. That has haste, and whenever it attacks, target legendary creature can't be blocked this turn, and it crews for 2. Ace's Baseball Bat. Another baseball bat, that's cool. 2 to cast equipment, it's legendary. The equipped creature gets +3/+0, and then as long as the equipped creature is attacking, it has first strike and must be blocked to Fable, and it equips for 3. Gallifrey Council Chamber. This is a legendary land. It says when it enters the battlefield, you surveil 1. It taps to add a colorless, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color and spend this mana to cast a Time Lord or Alien spell only, or activate an ability of a Time Lord or Alien. Day of Destiny, 4 to cast legendary enchantment that says legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. That's pretty self-explanatory and easy. Heroic Intervention, this is a reprint. It's a 2 to cast instant that gives permanents you control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Time Wipe. Ooh, we're getting into some reprints here. Time Wipe, 5 to cast, destroys all creatures, but you get to return a creature you control to your hand beforehand. Heroes Podium, 5 to cast legendary artifact. It says each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary creature you control. Then it says for X and tapping it, you can look at the top X cards of your library, and you may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Not bad. Next is Trenzalore Clock Tower. This is a legendary land. It can tap to add a blue, and then you put a time counter on it. Or you can pay 2, tap it, remove 12 time counters from it, and exile it to shuffle your graveyard and hand into your library, then draw 7 cards, and activate it only if you control a Time Lord. This is Time Twister with a lot of extra steps. Twice Upon a Time, instead of once, is a 4 to cast sorcery. That actually is weird. I've never seen this before. It's actually a sorcery with an adventure. That's weird. Alright, so the adventure you can cast first if you want, and it's called Unlikely Meeting for 3. And it says search your library for a doctor card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So it's a tutor for a doctor. Or the actual sorcery part of it, that's the normal one, or the main card, is cast a spell only if you control 2 or more doctors, and take an extra turn after this one, and then exile it. So it's a very convoluted time walk. Port Town, reprinted land. Exotic Orchard. Temple of Enlightenment. There's those temples again. Fortified Village. These are all just, budget dual lands. Prairie Stream. Canopy Vista, with new art, apparently. Sungrass Prairie. Temple of Plenty, Irrigated Farmland. We got some more here. Here's the other half of the deck. Temple of Mystery. These damn temples are all over the place. Vine Glimmer Snarl, Scattered Grove, Celestial Colonnade, Deserted Beach. It's actually a good one. Glacial Fortress, Checklands. Finally, some good ones. Horizon Canopy, which I got a special version 1 in the sample pack earlier. Overgrown Farmland. Waterlogged Grove, Dreamroot Cascade, Skyclad Expanse. Weird, we went through all the lands and then we're on the other cards. Okay. Banished to Another Universe. It's a 5 to cast enchantment that has affinity for historic permanents. And then when it enters the battlefield, you exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Banished into Another Universe leaves the battlefield. Okay. Time Lord Regeneration. 1 to cast instant that says until end of turn. Target Time Lord you control gains when this creature dies. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a Time Lord creature card and put that card onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That's actually a cool way that they did tie-in between Doctors regenerating and magic terms. That's actually pretty cool. Displaced Dinosaurs. It's a 7 to cast 7/7 that says as a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur creature in addition to its other types. Sonic Screwdriver. This is actually a pretty good card. It's a 3 to cast artifact that taps to add a mana of any color, so it's a mana rock. But then it has 3 other abilities, kind of like Staff of Domination, but it doesn't untap itself. It says for 1 and tapping it, you can untap another target artifact. The next ability says pay 2 and tap it to scry 1. And the last ability says pay 3 and tap it to have target creature be unblockable until end of turn. The TARDIS. 2 to cast vehicle. When it's a creature, it's a 2/4 flyer that says when it attacks, if you control a Time Lord, the next spell that you cast this turn has Cascade, and you may Planeswalk, which doesn't really matter because nobody uses Planeswalk. And it crews for 2. Sword to Plowshares for targeted removal. Same thing with Path to Exile. Good reprints. Return to Dust. Destroys artifact or enchantment. Actually, it exiles. Explore, so a little bit of, not really ramp because you have to have the land in your hand, but it's quasi-ramp. 3 visits. Really good reprint. Arcane Signet. Soul Ring. Talisman of Unity. That means we're probably going to get the other 2 as well. Hero's Blade. This is actually good. I'm going to read it to you because it may be a reprint, but it's pretty good. It's a 2 to cast equipment. The equipped creature gets +3/+2, and then whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Hero's Blade to it. It equips for 4, but most of this deck is legendary. I think almost all of it is. There's another one, Talisman of Progress, Thought Vessel, so good mana rocks. Mind Stone, Thriving Isle, Thriving Grove, Thriving Heath, Ash Barrens, Seaside Citadel, Command Tower, Path of Ancestry, and then I think the rest of it's going to be just the basics, and then, and then the tokens. So Food Token, Treasure Token, Clue Token, Copy Token, Mutant Tokens, Alien Insect, more Mutant Token, Soldiers, and then what's on the back, don't care about that. So more Copy Tokens, Mutant, Alien Salamander Tokens, Alien Insect Tokens, Soldiers, Human Rogues, Warriors, and that's it.
And that, folks, is what is in the Blast from the Past, Universes Beyond, Doctor Who Commander Precon. As far as the deck itself goes as a Magic product, it's a little fractured. I think they should have made a 5th deck and split this one up into 2 separate ideas, which may have solved the issue of trying to jam so much into one deck. I mean, we have 2 cards that deal with Cascade, and not a single Cascade card in the deck. That's what I mean when I say fractured. Too many directions for it to really be a cohesive deck. That's where tomorrow's upgrade guide comes in. I'm going to attempt to get this deck to gel together better by eliminating some themes while honing in on others. I'm not sure how or exactly what I'm going to hone in on yet though, so you'll just have to tune in tomorrow to find out. So that's all for this video, but if you're looking for more content to watch, please go browse my channel and take a look at some of my many other videos. I know for a fact that you'll find some that you'll like, and then be sure to check back tomorrow for the upgrade guide for this precon. Before you go, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Have a great day, and I hope to see you tomorrow.